family tragedy where a mother and her toddler were found dead in their home.
The father is now out of the hospital and charged with their murder. Local 10 Sanella Sabovic is live in Plantation with the disturbing new details. Sanella.
Nicole and Louie, we do want to warn our viewers that the details contained within this arrest report are horrific and disturbing. This man is accused of murdering his 2-year-old son and his wife. Police say that he stabbed them to death, leaving loved ones wondering why. This, as a makeshift memorial, has now been set up in front of the victim's home, right here in front of the garage. Heartfelt messages written on that poster. Jean Carlos Aponte is now behind bars, accused of doing the unthinkable, murdering his wife and child in their home they shared in Plantation. He's been formally arrested and charged over the weekend with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Mr. Ponte, I do find probable cause.
He faced a bond court judge on Sunday wearing a suicide vest.
I'm gonna order you to be held no bond, sir.
An arrest report paints a gruesome picture. Aponte's wife, 38-year-old Sarah Ashley Gama, was found by her own father last Tuesday on the kitchen floor, covered in blood with 28 stab wounds, mostly to her face and neck area. The report goes on to state that the couple's 2-year-old son Ethan was located face down in a pool with 4 stab wounds to the front of his neck. His cause of death was sharp force injury and drowning. The couple's newborn baby, 4-month-old Evan, was found crying in the house and unharmed. Aponte was also at the home. Police say he was unconscious in a master bedroom. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition for an apparent self-induced drug overdose.
I saw him on Monday walking his son down my street on 11th Street. He seemed fine. He was walking his son like he always does.
This is Aponte on Monday, one day before the horrific crimes. He's seen on surveillance video walking with the same boy he's accused of murdering. Last week, officers spent days at the crime scene, even recovering a phone in the water, with it possibly containing critical information about the last messages between the couple. So many unanswered questions as detectives try and figure out why this tragedy occurred. Those that knew the family are now in mourning, leaving heartfelt messages at a makeshift memorial in front of Sarah and Ethan's home, writing, "I will forever miss you, gone too soon, and the world will never be the same without you." The sole survivor of this family tragedy, the 4-month-old baby boy, is now with his maternal grandparents. That is the latest here out of Plantation. Sanella Sabovic, Local 10 News.
Boy, he really thinks he is the Titan of trim.
Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your day. It's Sunday. It's a beautiful day in northern Florida, but I can't wait to get out of Florida. I'm not a fan, guys. Anyway, listen, I could do a whole series about bitching about the state of Florida, but I will spare you that. However, this video does have something to do with Florida. It has something to do with the crime that I told you took place across the street from where my brother's stepdaughter lives and her family. And when I put the video up about the crime, so many people said it had to do with money. And I said it didn't have to do with money because I knew details that I wasn't willing to share because it hadn't even been on the news. And I am not that way. So if you guys think sensationalism, if that's in me, you can clearly see that is not in me because I couldn't do it. I just couldn't get on here and feel like I was the first one giving information about something that was so horrific. I can't. Because as you guys know, let's go back. About 11 days ago in Jacaranda, Plantation, Florida, so it's west of Fort Lauderdale. Just those people that don't know where Plantation is, obviously, it's west of Fort Lauderdale, probably 10, 12 miles west of Fort Lauderdale, maybe at the most 20 miles west of the beach. Because Florida is only so wide, you know. So there was a crime that occurred in what was a really nice neighborhood, and everybody said it's such a nice neighborhood. How does this happen in such a nice neighborhood? And da 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 da. And I could say that the homes in that neighborhood probably, especially since COVID hiked up all of the prices, or that was an excuse for all of the prices to hike up. I don't know, but housing went just crazy, right? Especially I live in like a 2 hours away from New York City. We had all the New York City people coming to move to the area that I was living in and around, simply because kids could go out and play. They weren't on top of each other, where in New York you had to have that 6-foot difference, and there was a lot of restrictions. Well, not so much up where I was living, still restrictions of the state of New York, but you were able to have open spaces and things that you could do outside. So I'm sure, because I've just seen that the cost of living and everything has gone up, the housing prices had jacked up high. So probably the houses in this area would have to go for, in my opinion, I don't know, probably the least expensive house in that area might be $650,000. That's my guess. And probably goes way up. So is it a nice neighborhood? Absolutely. It is a nice neighborhood. It is upper class. It is not all the way up there, but it's well up on that ladder. Okay? So when people said, how could that happen in this neighborhood? Why do you expect it in this neighborhood? You know, first of all, that's insulting. It's so insulting to the other neighborhoods that I don't understand why we still say it. Because there are people in the other neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, there are neighborhoods that we know that are ridden with crime, but no neighborhood in the United States of America is free from random acts of unkindness. That's just the way it is, you know? So then people were saying in the comments, I bet you it had to do with money. I bet you it had to do with money. I guarantee it had to do with money. Again, I knew it didn't have to do with money because the crime was so vicious to me. It was so personal that it wasn't about money. It wasn't as generic as money. So what happened was the husband had apparently gone on a trip at some point to visit his family from the country he's from. I guess the night before or the day before this unaliving took place, that she had gone through his phone and saw that there was a bunch of escorts, and she asked questions. And what it is, they went in and they got the cell phones out of the lake behind the property. There was a lake behind the property. They got the phones out, and the exchange on the phones were this. And so it seems like he broke his marriage vows, because she says, no, not only did you break your promise, you broke your marriage vows. And I believe she says she wanted a divorce. And that night on the computer, so, maybe 10 hours before the unaliving or so, on the computer, she's looking up alimony in the state of Florida, how easy is it to get a divorce, everything that shows that she is done with this marriage, okay? And that is why, when she asked him for a divorce, that he proceeded to stab her 28 times. That's why that happened. Mm-hmm. And his 2-year-old son, that would have been 3 just a couple days ago, yeah, he was stabbed 4 times and thrown in a swimming pool. And he spared the 3-month-old that was in a swing. And the mother, the one that's gone, his wife, her parents came to check on her, and that's what they found. So it had nothing to do with money. It had all to do with mental health. He was struggling with PTSD. That's what family members have said. Now, are they using it as an excuse? I don't believe so, because they have shown that he has reached out, and he did apparently reach out for help. And this is where it's not funny. It is. I don't understand why we don't do better by our veterans. First of all the way around, not just mental health, but they fought in our wars. And I know, yeah, they get benefits. There are also a bunch of homeless ones. So who gets benefits? Who decides who gets benefits? And that's where I get frustrated, because that is not fair. That's just not fair. So this guy who suffered with PTSD, and this guy who I don't know what he saw that day, because the day before he's walking the son that he unalived in a carriage, down the road, and everything appeared fine. 24 hours before, everything appeared fine. It looked fine. To all the neighbors, it looked fine. He's on ring cams where he's walking his child. Guys, mental health it doesn't discriminate. It's indiscriminate. Anybody's house, big, small, in any kind of neighborhood. We can't judge like that. We can't look at the most well-dressed person and assume that they have their whole life together. And we can't look at the people who look messy and say that their life is a mess. Maybe that is the last priority for them, in getting their 3 kids up in the morning and fed and off to school is the priority. And they didn't have time at that moment to brush their hair, or they look a little disheveled, but their kids look great. We can't decide that. And the day that we decide that by looking, we're wrong. We're wrong. I don't need to tell you how upset this makes me. My leg won't stop shaking. It's upsetting to tell you about these crimes, but I really don't know what my channel's about. But I talked about this, and I felt obligated to tell you what I knew when I felt like I could. And being that it's on the news now, and nobody who's attached to this family is hearing it from somebody that heard it online first, I'm okay with telling you what happened. But this is also why I do other videos too, because I can't do this all the time. I can't. I live in the same world as everybody else. There are times that I'm frightened, and if I did this all the time, it wouldn't be very good for my mental health. So to bring attention to this because of mental health, and in memory of 2 people that lost their lives because somebody just fucking lost their temper, is just something that needs to be shouted from the rooftops. Guys, I don't know what to say, how to end this video, except to say, just be better. Can we just be better? And just pay attention to people and not project what we think about them by just looking at them. Can we do that for one day? All right, guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. Have a great day. And always be better. Just be better.